All right, Rob. I'm handing you the navigational device.
Alrighty.
Don't fuck it up. You got to get us there in one piece. They're expecting us.
Dude, look at. I have my own. I'm like a fucking pro of this shit, dude.
All right. Hey, I thought this might be a good time to tell you guys that I've never driven on the freeway before.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I've never driven on a freeway, and I've never driven in the rain before. You know, like my entire history of driving is video games, so I think I'm set.
Rob and Richard, explain to us what we're doing here.
All right, we're heading down to San Jose, where we'll go to Keystone, the headquarters of the hardcore scene.
Why is this cool though?
In the community of Street Fighter, these guys are known as the tournament players. They are very good. They practice all day long.
That is what I did! I turned back there twice! Are you having me going around in circles?
We came from here, right?
Alright.
Right, and then I think we're at this gas station, right?
I think so.
Yep. So, like...
Where did I turn? We went around the goddamn... Why are you filming this? Why are you filming this? This doesn't make any sense!
Matt, let me drive. Let me drive. That's a direct command, Matt. That's a direct command.
仕事へ行きたくない学校なんかつまんないみんなで一緒にテレビゲーム遊びたいどこでも行っても同じだみんなで歌うんだみんなで一緒にテレビゲーム遊んだらどうだら One up show を見ましょう One up show で遊ぼう One up show Wow すごい One up show やったよこれはワンアップショーです
Yeah, I kind of like that the build we have right now doesn't have music in it because there's
like that?
Yeah, because you can hear all those silly noises all the more. You've been writing about the game all week. Have you gotten any closer to being able to sum it up?
You play as this boy, you're small. His name is Boy. There's a girl on top of the planet. You can zoom out to the planet and look at the girl at any point. As Boy stretches, then reports to girl, girl stretches. Lots of naughty themes, lots of interesting stuff. It's a toy, you could say. The words that I've been using are it's a physics playground. You don't really have set goals, you don't have set anything to do. L2 does three things. It eats, it jumps, and it squats. So like the controls are not easy, and like you see with the camera, if you want to zoom out, you gotta hold L1 and then tilt back.
Or if you hold L1 and R1, you can actually tilt the camera upwards.
Yeah.
So if you want to, you can play it like top down.
Or to the side, or anywhere you want. Like, you can do anything you want with the camera. Like, it has everything you need, but to learn the camera takes a while.
There's actually tons of things to do. There's little things to do, but the most of the stuff you'll be doing is just of your own invention.
I don't know if I would say tons. Like, there's stuff to do. You can stretch, you can eat, you can poop, you can snap in half, you can flip around, you can try to go through donuts and such, but that's kind of it from what we've seen anyway.
You'll find new stuff, especially as you go to new planets and there's new objects. You'll give yourself, you're like, okay, I want to weave myself, around this like walking octopus cat and through this like house and through this cloud. Like,
it's different things in the environments. As far as we know, they're not adding in more things that you can do apart from what you interact with. Like the first 30 minutes I was playing, I thought you could only stretch 40 meters long, but then I realized you can actually stretch like 150 meters long. Right. So it really you learn lots of stuff as you go on. You find lots of little things, and I imagine that's what's going to happen over the course of the game, because the whole concept is like you keep unlocking new planets and stuff. So it's all kind of about discovering little things.
even though it's a simple set of things, like it manages to be like engaging for long periods of time for me. Like, I can sit there for an hour and just kind of lose myself messing around with some tiny little thing. Or even when you stretch out, like trying to keep yourself on the planet and like corral objects and stuff.
The length that you can stretch to is so much bigger than the actual world. You just can end up dangling off the entire level.
And I think some of them, like I think the moon does get a little bigger, if I'm not mistaken, but you know, we'll see if anything actually can contain you.
My favorite thing to do is to like go up in the air. You can kind of like touch the trigger buttons to make him like jump up and fly up in the air. And once he's in the air and you move the analog sticks, he actually floats up there for a pretty long time. And if, like, I'd like to stretch to like the medium length and then just move around with the analog sticks in different directions. And he actually like twists around like a little dragon in the sky, and he can like fold up on himself and do like crazy. It's kind of like synchronized swimming, but in the air.
I like when you get like as long as possible and then you go to a new planet, or just reset yourself out the chimney and you come out in this huge, long, ridiculous spiral. And I wish there was some sort of varied mechanic to the actual eating. I wish that if you ate 2 different items, they'd combine into something new when you pooped it out. Like, I wish there was
something like that, but we haven't really been able to figure it out through playing the game yet. The whole thing is you have to earn meters that you've stretched, so if there was a way to kind of like amplify that number by doing certain things well, I think it'd be a nice way to kind of incentivize people to play more.
Right, I mean, there's like a top spinning in the levels, which we haven't really figured out what it does. It can land in a cloud or whatever, but maybe if you could wrap yourself around the top and that would stretch you out. Like, there's certain objects in the world which seem like they could help you stretch more.
Does eating actually let you stretch more? Because I was under the impression that that helps.
Your stomach.
Okay, so that's when you get all fat. Because I noticed like a snake, when you eat, you have like you're skinny and then there's bulges in your stomach.
Yeah.
So I'll like eat like a giant mushroom cap and then I'll have this big ball in the middle of my stomach, and then to the point of where when you wrap around yourself in a pile and then you kind of tap like the movement buttons, it looks like he's convulsing. It's kind of gross actually.
When you're too full, I guess, you can't stretch as long as possible. But if you're like half full, you can stretch some. And if you don't have anything in you, you can stretch a ton. But if you stretch as far as you possibly can, then go around and eat everything, that's how you can get like the maximum, at least as far as I've found.
There's potential in the level designs to give these goals that we're talking about, but who knows, maybe it's just always a playground.
I want them to make it more vertical as well, because you can fly pretty high. The only things in the sky are the donuts, and they're always donuts, but I was kind of hoping they would have more stuff that way too, so you can do more flying around things, so you can see them do that.
So I think people should expect the bizarreness of Katamari, but not it being as much of a game, because it's really not. I mean, Katamari, it's like your goal is clear after a couple seconds of playing, and then it's just a matter of getting a hang of the controls and like doing what you got to do within the time limit. Here, there's none of that. It takes a while to adjust to the controls and moving in front of the camera, which is kind of complex. It's really just a playground. Once you do all that, it's up to you to like make your own fun.
Dude, of course we're gonna make it. I was just like sweating because I was like, fuck, we're gonna fuck up their show because. How's it going, sir?
Where's Albert?
I was just like, man, I boned
Dude,
this.
hey, what's up, man? You made it.
Guy wants a shot. Anybody? Robert had like 5 shots.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Ready? Here we go. Shoot it.
All right. So we have to be kind of quiet out here because the neighbors don't like it and the cops like to come. But check this shit out.
When I started this place, I had no intentions for this place to turn out the way it did. I had 2 cabs that I bought from an arcade down the street from here. They didn't want them, right? They were nice cabs. And I put them together. And I was like, okay, I'm going to invite like a couple boys over, like 2 or 3 guys, right? And like everyone was like, yo, fucking this place is legit. And like they just started inviting people like from all over the place. And I just started like buying cabs to accommodate all the people that came over. And this is how it ended up. There was like a pimp arcade down the street from here, Keystone. We used to play games like Mortal Kombat, Killer Instinct, Street Fighter, whatever, whatever version was popular at the time. That was the bombest arcade, even though like there's probably not too many people that remember it.
Right.
I mean, I think so fondly of that place that I decided to call this place Keystone too.
How did everybody else find out about this? Was it just like word of mouth stuff?
Word of mouth, and I recruited some top players from all over NorCal, yeah. And then I got connections like this guy, best player on the planet, right here. Like everyone says like John Choi plays at fucking Keystone too. Oh my God, they want to be here and play, with the best. So
Keystone 2 was pretty much him and me and a few other guys, and just one day when it started to get bigger, he just thought of the name Keystone 2 as an homage to the original. And yeah, it's just purely word of mouth, and it just kind of spread, and I've been in the scene for a while, so I let some other people know, so that's how.
Are most of the people here tournament players, or are there some people here that they're just really good at their local scene and they just hang out here?
Mostly tourney, some casual, but all the guys are good here.
So what got you in Street Fighter 2?
It was magic, man. You watch it looks like an anime movie. I didn't even know what anime was back then, but there were all these crazy buttons and combinations, and people were doing special moves that you didn't know where they came from, and you had to talk to some dude who looked shady, and he'd be like, I'll tell you how to do a fireball if give me $5.
It was just the immediate depth that you got from the game, from having 6 buttons is something that's immediately different, and then having a character that's so rich and interactive. For the day, that was a lot of animation to see in a character, and you could play it your way, and someone else could play it another way.
In Street Fighter 4, the last boss is called Seth. Your name is Seth. In your relationship?
Can I say no comment? Yeah, whatever. Yes, he's named after me. You don't think he looks like me? You don't think Seth's a tough sounding name?
I think you need to lose the clothes, get some gray skin, maybe lose the hair.
Yin yang in the stomach.
Yeah, the yin yang is definitely necessary.
Can you stretch your arms too, like Seth?
Hey, the night's young.
So Street Fighter 4, what's the biggest change from Street Fighter 3?
Street Fighter 3, basically we're dropping the parries in favor of the focus attack. You can use that a little bit like a parry, but if you try and parry like Street Fighter 3, you'll get killed. So focus attack's great because it's just 2 buttons, you can crank it out anytime, you can tell that you're doing it. But it's a new day, so it's sort of back to the Street Fighter 2 mechanics. Fireballs at a distance work again.
So in Street Fighter 4, fireballs are a lethal weapon. But what about the focus attack? Doesn't it absorb a fireball?
You can absorb a fireball. You still take the damage, so if you get hit again before you recover the damage, yeah, but that's what's beautiful. The fact that I'm being ambiguous here is like, yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So you gotta learn the game, learn what works at what time, and it's beautiful.
It ain't over till it's over. That could be the KO.
One of the marketing points of Street Fighter 4 is that Street Fighter 4 brings back the casual players. It's accessible while maintaining the hardcore aspect. Focus attack, dash cancels, long combos, damaging combos. How does Street Fighter 4 capture that accessible feeling?
We really tried to go back to a lot of the Street Fighter 2 mechanics. So if you ever played Street Fighter, you could pick it up and play Street Fighter the same way you always did. But when you start learning the new mechanics, it sort of grows with you. And so unlike parries, what's so hard about parries is that you can't really see if you're doing it right, and you have to really learn every move in the game before you can start to learn to parry at the right time. And in Street Fighter 4, you just hit the buttons, you can see that you're doing the focus attack right away, and it's just up to you to figure out the right spot to use it and how to use it creatively and how to bait your opponent.
Parries were one of the biggest criticisms of Street Fighter 3.
Yeah.
The entire engine of Street Fighter 3 kind of felt, it wasn't Street Fighter 2, but in Street Fighter 4, it kind of does feel like Street Fighter 2.
There's still some great combos, but there's a lot of damage scaling, so you're not going to get rocked by a big combo, and while you're getting comboed, you're also building up ultra meter, you're building up your revenge gauge. So you're basically getting more powerful while you're getting beat down, or more dangerous at least. So.
You'll see Street Fighter 4 as a very pretty looking game. It has new visuals, very exaggerated facial expressions. One of the best examples is Zangief. He's the big Russian, burly kind of looking dude. Maybe he's from Folsom Street Fair. He has a move called the spinning pile driver. He grabs the guy, spins him up in the air, 360. The camera follows up, zooms out, zooms in, and it just ends with the close-up of Zangief's face doing this.
I'm really amazed at the transition from 2D to 3D. So they kept the great 2D gameplay, but you know the camera will move around again at key points. Both doing the ultras, some of the other special moves, so you really get a feeling for the characters really come to life. They're 3D, they're fully realized, but it keeps the same great gameplay.
Face Opera Symphony! Goodbye! Someone's looking out for this one, I'll tell you that. It ain't over till it's over, sire! Idiot! KO!
For me, it's about like coming back to the fun of fighting games, because fighting games for a long time, I mean, I love what the Guilty Gear series has done, but the mechanics in those games are so crazy that like normal humans can't play them anymore. I mean, it takes 6-8 months to learn. You gotta fight top pros. Street Fighter 4 is a return to the roots where anybody can pick up and play, and the time you want to put into it is what you're gonna get back, but you can play it right away, and you can remember what's fun about getting together with your friends and just throwing down, talking a little trash, and getting in their face.
It may have sounded dismissive, but when I say like it's basically RE4 in HD, that's like really cool because I love the shit out of RE4. I play like every version of that game on every console.
We all love it.
A really nice HD version of like basically RE4's pace and like slightly improved control scheme is enough for me. I'm okay for now with like the way
Like
5
most
feels.
series, you get 3 games that are the same before you get a new one. Where this is like, you know, you're getting a little bit of new in the next game.
Right, it feels like a refinement of RE4. Let's talk about the exciting new environments like the gray and brown refinery where you're slowly waiting for someone to open a door or putting together pieces of a medallion to open a door.
Sounds like Resident Evil.
Sounds like Resident Evil.
That's cool. Why is that bad?
Why is that cool? Why?
Well, I don't want Resident Evil to totally give up its heritage. I want to have finding medallions, and I want to have solving those goofy Zodiac puzzles. I mean, that's part of the game.
And I think in terms of survival horror stress, those are actually really good examples of it because in the refinery you have these multiple points of like you gotta turn stuff and move things around, and because all these like fast like infected, not zombies, infected guys rushing at you, plus a chainsaw to a guy or two, and you gotta worry about your ammo count. It actually is like the most enjoyable, stressful situation I've had in a really long time.
I didn't find them that fast. Maybe I didn't play that much of it.
It's a lot like RE4 where from a distance, like when they close into like their kind of attack range, they're kind of scrambling towards you. But once they kind of get within like maybe 5 to 10 feet, then they kind of start doing the shuffle as they slowly like raise their knives or raise their dynamite hands, and that gives you kind of like a bit of control manager to give you a buffer zone first.
AI is an issue though because like you can take out most of the kind of drone characters with your knife.
Yeah, I kind of wanted the knife thing to work better because especially from having played a lot of Left 4 Dead, I really wanted some sort of spacing move.
Switching between knife and other weapons with a new control scheme feels slightly more awkward. Like when I was playing Mercenaries in RE4 as Hunk, I could easily stun a bunch of assholes and do a whole bunch of neck breaks in a row. It's like, but 5, it took a while because of the new control scheme. It just takes a little bit of adjustment, but I think once you actually get used to it, you can start being better. Because actually, I'm like a lot better at doing that kind of action now. In RE4, you had like Leon would do the kick, and for a while he would do the suplex. And right in the beginning, I've seen Chris do uppercuts, straight punches, right hooks,
it's
and
based on your
like
proximity to the enemy.
It's weird that it gives you the option to kind of do these context-sensitive melee attacks when they don't kill the enemy. Because sometimes I would do like a punch, and then I'd be like, oh, now I'm just ending up really close to the enemy instead of spaced out where I could have just finished him off with a few shots.
It made the fight seem more visually interesting because one time what literally happened was I shot something in the knee. It was kind of done and stammering around. I did an uppercut by aiming at a right angle, flew up in the air, and when it landed, I then ran up and stomped on it a bunch of times, and it still like got up. I was like, holy shit, when is this going to fucking die? I finally stunned it again. I hit it with a straight punch and did a Fist of North Star style face explosion. But instead, this is what happens when you do headshots. Then the fucking monster tentacle comes out instead. I'm like, oh shit, I just made this guy even harder than it was. And then I had to run away. I like those actions a lot, especially since I run out of bullets very frequently. And I'm relying on those a lot to like fight dudes with.
Actually, I like the controls a lot. I thought it fit very well, especially the way you were able to strafe and move. I mean, it felt really natural, and especially if you're getting backed into a corner by a bunch of zombies, it was very dramatic.
It still is a bit like kinky that like I can't like move while aiming, but it's like, well, that's just the way.
Feels like Resident Evil.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's necessarily a bad thing.
It's just something. It's just like when I come from playing another game, it's like, oh, that's right, it's Resident Evil. I just gotta like get used to this.
It feels like a good kind of like modern update, like evolved version of what it used to be.
I will say the storytelling is a step above. I mean, it's still a little crazy and wacky. The bad guy Irving, he's traditional RE bad guy, but the cutscenes are better, a little more adult, mature, realistic.
I thought the cutscenes in RE4 were great, but yeah, I think that's like kind of the big thing that this game does that no other game does, is it has all these great scenarios like consistently coming, like, oh, okay, now there's a huge explosion, now you got these guys chasing you, now you're, this boulder is falling, whatever, and that stuff keeps coming, and it's great.
It does really show off how cool co-op can be in this game. When we were playing yesterday, just in the first part we'd played before at TGS and stuff, it's so much better when you play with real people. I mean, that's true of every game, but in this game in particular, you're getting caught. You have lots of moves where you can go and help other people.
Yeah, I would argue that there aren't a lot of moves to go help other people. In fact, the word help appears on the screen. You press A. That's not exactly a lot of moves.
There's a lot of situations where you need to go and play the game to help the other person. There's not a specific move. It's not like Street Fighter or something.
Co-op maneuvers.
Yeah, there's not. Okay, it's not like Army of Two.
I thought in a few places co-op seemed forced. Like there was a blockade that you just had to both push at the same time because it was too heavy for one person. It's like that didn't need to be there. They did that to show you, hey, you guys can work together.
You thought the refinery was pretty plain, and I think that the thing about the refinery is if you go back to its potential, it could be a really interesting place. I mean, refinery could have all kinds of nooks and crannies, different places to set up your level around, and it didn't seem to have that. It seemed to be really rigidly.
Everything's very linear. I'd say even like the first town, it seems big, but it's actually pretty linear because there's checkpoints and automatic saving now. It just kind of makes it feel like you're going through a regular action game a little more than the old RE games where you're backtracking more.
I agree with that.
We haven't seen the parts where there's more backtracking.
The secondary thing for me about the refinery, there wasn't a real strong art style to it. There wasn't a real sense of place to it. I mean, you go back and look at the mansion in the first Resident Evil. I mean, there was a really cool place, had a really cool atmosphere and vibe to it, and I think they could have done something really interesting, like sort of Saw-like with the refinery, but they didn't pull it off. It's just sort of it's sort of uninspired.
The other one we saw was a little bit better in that sense. Like it was on the side of a cliff. It was like kind of sunset or whatever. The lighting was really good. There was a little bit more kind of uniqueness to it.
You know what was cool about the lighting is the lighting really had temperature down right. It's like you could really get a sense for what time of day it was from the way the color temperature of the light was, and I really like that. I love games that get that right.
In terms of graphics, so no one else here is like a little bit disappointed by the graphics in RE5. From level to level, it's inconsistent. Like for example, the oil refinery textures aren't that impressive. In the water level, like the boat geometry looks archaic and boxy, and I don't know, maybe it's just not done.
I'm not saying you couldn't zoom in and find like a low-res texture somewhere, but like I didn't notice this at all when I was playing.
Really? Yeah. It looks fine, looks good, but it doesn't look like the best thing out there.
Like we were talking about the refinery, it stood out to me there, but I thought it was as much a function again of not having like a real clear art style. And
I think that's because of where it takes place. It's just kind of got a different look because it's Africa.
I don't know, it just seems to me like they spent more time on that first village. It looks really good. And then these other two levels we saw, they don't look as good.
But like you said, how much great stuff was there late in Resident Evil 4? I
hope they're saving some really great new set pieces we haven't seen.
I mean, bottom line for this thing is I loved Resident Evil 4. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Resident Evil 5, seriously, it's going to be awesome. Come on.
I'm saying it's got some big shoes to fill, and I'm not sure if it's going to have, be better than the last game. We'll see. It'd be great if it was.
Fuck you guys.
Hey, welcome back, gentlemen.
Hey!
How you doing?
What's going on?
Hey, you don't look tired at all. Where the hell have you guys been? What has it been, like 3-4 days? Your hair looks wonderful, by the way.
Dude, Keystone, it was awesome.
It was awesome?
It was really fucking awesome.
It's a moment of zen.
Wait. But it is in San Jose? That's like an hour away.
Oh yeah, dude. Like you should totally go next time.
Yeah.
But why did it take you guys 3 days to go there and come back? It's real close.
I was like this. I tried to road and like we had to get around that line.
Traffic is so fucking bad. I know it's like
disgusting.